Bloodwolf Arts Studio. Unleash the artist within.
Welcome to Bloodwolf Arts Studio, and I am your host, Mr. Moonlight. So today I'm going to be talking about my next poem in my series called The Unseen Soul. And as I started to look through and review my next series to, get ready for this, I started to notice that this was actually, because I had forgotten this, but this was actually where my writing really picked up. And almost every other day or every 2 or 3 days, every few days that I was writing something new, it's almost like there was this explosion of expression and realization of how powerful writing this stuff down was for me. And I started writing a lot more often. And this one was written only 2 days after the last one. So there's not a lot of change in what was going on in my life, but there's a different emphasis on this one, and it's really cool to watch as I read through these again. It's like all this stuff surfacing up and noticing what started to really pop. It's like there was just this explosion of these realizations and starting to express all these feelings, these things that were buried for a while, and that I didn't feel supported to express or critique or challenge or feel safe to express any of this. But in this one, there's a lot of hyperfixation on marriage still. That's such a huge thing in the culture. That's a pattern that I notice in a lot of my poems. Is there's this push, this drive, this desire to get married, get married, get married, get married, because that really is such a hyperfixation in the culture. Is getting married, and there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure, and particularly um, in this one, it really comes out how much there is a belief in, if I'm just faithful enough, if I'm just loyal enough, then I'll get married. And there's a feeling of being the underdog, like seeing nobody else is getting married. It's not working out for them, because that's also very common. Also, is you're noticing so many people around you struggling to get married because everybody else is hyper fixated on this too, and to a ridiculous extent, really. It's like, man, there's such an obsession. But there's also a lot. There's a bit of a delusional aspect of it, or a naive, very naive, especially because I didn't grow up in the center of the DCCS. I grew up on the outliers, and I was completely oblivious to the politics and the arranged marriages. I didn't realize the marriages were arranged. People today in the DCCS will still insist that they're not arranged, even though they are, when you see how the system works. But something I didn't really know was the politics going on behind the scenes, being so removed from the center of the DCCS, and in my little pocket up there on the farm in Idaho, then it was just like this, being on this little happy cloud, I guess, in a way, because I don't see a lot of the drama, but I'm very well aware that everybody's struggling to get married, and what comes out in this poem is much of being the underdog. Like, oh, it's not working out for them, but I'm going to be so faithful. I'm going to be so loyal. I'm going to be so much more than anybody else, and I'm going to be so spiritual, and I'm going to be so close to God. I'm going to get high up in the church, and I'm going to sit in the front row, and I'm going to be so loyal and so active that's going to get me that. And it's like, it's not going to matter that I don't have the money saved up. Like, everything's going to work out, and completely detached from the very real side of actually getting married and being in a relationship, which is that the money does matter, and being able to provide for yourself matters. So a lot of that's captured in here, and there's also a lot of feeling invisible, feeling unseen, like I'm doing all this work that nobody sees. Solid. But there's a bit more of a delusional aspect. I'm engaging in this culture, or in this poem, from the culture, and it's very naive. Because really, the culture of the DCCS is everybody is very naive, and that's one thing that just happens from being sheltered and having all these control systems in place that essentially plan your whole life out for you. But there's this big push that if, like, It doesn't matter what anybody else sees. Um, what matters is that God sees it, and that it's not so much what everybody else sees, which is true. Like when you're doing actual work, like it's not so much the work everybody else sees, but this takes it to a whole nother level where it's like God sees my faithfulness, God sees my loyalty, and God's going to do all the work, and I'm not going to have to do anything or do very little. And there's continuing references to dreams, because that's a huge part of getting married in the DCCS is who am I dreaming about, because that's direction on who I should associate with and who might be my choice, or as a man in the order, being like, oh, who's going to be one of my wives. Like here I'm a teenager being like, I'm going to marry a whole bunch of women, be just like dad, be like everybody else, because that's also a sign of status and spirituality. Like that's part of the hierarchy, is I'm going to have so many women as wives. And yeah, that's a big part of it. So this really captures a lot of that aspect of the culture. And just like, no one sees all the work that I do. God sees me. I'm going to be loyal and faithful to the community, to the leadership, fit in with my parents, and everything's just going to work out. And I'm going to be the underdog. It's like, it's not working everybody else, but I'm going to be so loyal and so faithful and so close to God that, it's going to work out for me. And again, a bit of the naiveness of how things work and how the marriages are being arranged, and the order politics that actually decides who gets married and who doesn't. It's really sad, reflecting a little back on this and all the people that still buy into that belief. But I mean, that's just part of the culture. So I also feel like a big part of this poem is really cracking open how invisible I actually felt, and how much I was working so hard to just be seen, that someone would see me, and really fighting so hard to just do everything I could to be seen. And maybe if I'm spiritual enough, maybe if I get married, maybe none of the rest of the stuff's going to matter, and someone's actually going to see me. Because in the culture, the way it exists, everybody's got so many children, everybody's so busy building up a community, that it's like, that's really one of the tragedies of the very real aspect of the culture, is that there's so many people that are going unseen, especially children. And this really felt like it captured a lot of that, because I think I was 19 when I wrote this, and the stuff that was coming out here, it was stuff I'd felt for a long time, and as I've done so much work and traced it back, this is stuff I was feeling for a really long time, and nobody ever seemed to see the struggle for what it actually was. And the struggle I was going through was so much just, I'm working and I'm working and I'm working so hard. When is somebody going to notice me? When is someone going to see me? So this one was written on April 29th, 2011. It's titled The Unseen Soul. So go ahead and head on over to my TikTok as Mr. Moonlight, where I will be doing the reading for this poem. And give me a follow on my YouTube, Blood Wolf Art Studio, as well as my Facebook page, where I'm also posting stuff. And also go check out my website, where you can see the links to all my books. And thank you for listening.